I'm not sure phase 4 is enough to bring me back. Okay.
4 of Season of Discovery has been out for about a week or so now, raising the level cap to 60, adding new runes into the game, and giving players a first look at the start of the endgame of this seasonal server. And to be honest, for me, it must be the first classic release ever where I haven't really already put some serious time into the game, achieved a level cap, and I'd usually be working on gearing up too. I have a character ready to go, of course. I've even gone and got my world buffs and consumes, but I'm kind of sitting there in Thorium Point. And I keep thinking I'll get started on it soon enough, because I do want to at least experience Phase 4 for a review in some capacity at the end of SOD, but I can't just seem to take that first step and get back into Season of Discovery in Phase 4. And
I'm honestly really surprised about this. For me personally, I've been more excited about Phase 4 than I have been like for Phase 3 and Phase 2. I feel like Phase 4 was like, apart from the first phase, it's been like the most kind of exciting for me personally, but maybe that's because it's Endgame and it's like pre-biz farm and stuff like that.
I've been thinking about why has this been happening for me specifically. So obviously there's going to be a lot of personal takes here. Maybe you'll feel the same way, maybe not. There might even be some spicy takes in here as well. But overall, I just can't help the feeling that Phase 4 isn't going to be enough to bring me back to Season of Discovery. Well, at least not for long anyways, and here's why that's happened. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev gives ambitious and self-motivated individuals the tools to get fully on board with the Python and Go programming languages. Where it's different is it treats this a learning process as though it's an RPG with goals, experience, and achievements. This keeps you engaged with the topic you're on, as well as allowing you to track what you've done so far. And one of the main things they want to get you doing on your learning journey is writing tons of your own code, so you can get
people just don't dude, it's just Control V, Control C, right?
That first-hand understanding of what works and, more importantly, why. And if you just wanted to check out boot.dev before committing to anything, it really is risk-free. All the content is free to read and watch in guest mode. And on top of that, there's a 30 days no questions asked refund policy, as well as a free demo of every course and its interactive features. Boot could very well be the start to a career with high earnings and maybe even remote work positions too. So if coding's
high earnings and remote work, wow guys,
something you have been considering, why not give them a try? You can click the link in the description box and use my code WILLY to get 25% off your first payment for boot.dev. That'll be 25% your first month, or depending on the subscription you choose. Many thanks to boot.dev for the sponsor today. Let's get back to WoW.
Cool, good for Willy. Yeah, but I don't like working. What if you could just get the money and then not work at all, Mofford? That would be the play.
Getting back into Season of Discovery is
like you? Dude, I work! What the fuck? Hello?
After a huge break for me. I played Phase 1 a lot. I did BFD loads, I leveled every character to 25, and I even got all of the runes on every single class.
That's insane.
Okay, fine, apart from the Grisby rune, I'm not made of gold. And I was playing solidly from Phase 1 into Phase 2. That rolled around, I did a bunch of Noma, did some leveling, got the runes, but I dropped down to about 3 or 4 characters. And in fact,
dropped it down to 4 characters. What is that? Dude, Willy is a gamer.
Phase 3 I leveled and got, well, some of the runes on about 2 characters, and so in Phase 4 I'm kind of in this weird spot now. I have some of the runes but not others, and I'm gonna have to backtrack and go and get them if I do want to continue playing really. I've completed
Oh my god. Whiteline, thank you for the 20 months.
Did some bits of zones, but not others, because I just keep out leveling them. We have this huge XP buff, and it's like the whole 1 to 60 experience has become very disjointed, with Blizzard consistently speeding things up. I've said this many times, but I get why they're doing this. It's a seasonal server, but rushing people towards the end game is just a mistake, and one they've made before as well, because they did this in Season of Mastery 2 by giving people an experience buff early on as well.
It does seem like, I don't know, I think a lot of people in SOD don't care too much about the leveling though. But I do agree to, I think to a large extent, like vanilla is very much about like the leveling, man, and the journey and stuff like that. And SOD doesn't have the same journey in that way, but I guess it's they have decided to make it like a different feel for it, right? What's up, Enyo?
was focusing the majority of the new content on classic raids, and in Season of Discovery, we're kind of going in that same direction once again. I don't know about you, but for me, the best bit of classic has always been 1 to 60.
The journey,
You know, on 2019 Classic's re-release, I leveled every class in the game from 1 to 60, including 2 Warlocks. I even ended up making a video about it and my experiences. And you know what I did when I hit 60 on every single character apart from my main and my alt, of course? I logged out and I did not play them again until TBC. Okay, fine.
That's fair enough. I mean, I do agree to a large extent, man. The leveling and the pre-biz farm and the first raid. That's like peak vanilla, man. That is so good, dude. That's so nice. Silver Games, thank you for the 17 months, man. I appreciate that. I only have 7 characters in SOD. Dude, schooning for pre-biz farm is so good in Phase 4. I have honestly been having a great time so far in Phase 4. I think it's been a really, really fun experience, personally.
And I used them for professionals, but Endgame was kind of the end of the game, if you will. Back then, of course, I was actively raiding whatever raid was out at the moment, but I didn't really want to do it on more characters than I had to. I just wanted to get the experience and really to have completed that objective that I never did back in the day. But faster leveling overall doesn't feel as though it fits into a vanilla universe.
A little bit,
it's problematic when you have a seasonal server on your hands, but 150% bonus XP and the new runes has me feeling like I'm playing a different version of the game where you blast through the content so fast that you outlevel a zone halfway through, and you don't even get to see some of the legendary quests all the way through, such as killing Morbent Fell, finishing the Hebbit Nestingary quests in STV, and so on. It's kind of like how questing is in Wrath, but even faster. All in all,
to a large degree, I can definitely agree with this take, for sure. I think so as well, but I think they really wanted to try a different approach with SOD and see how people liked it, right? For sure.
All faster leveling just gets me to endgame sooner, and that's not why I'm playing vanilla. Let's talk a bit more about the endgame though, and what there is to expect.
I think for a large part, they wanted to like try to appeal to a larger audience than just classic enjoyers too. That's why it's like catered a little bit differently than vanilla is. The new version of the game feels like a new version of the game. Big brain take. Yeah, it's different, right? And obviously because it's different, some people won't enjoy it, right? My view on it is like, I don't really view SOD as vanilla WoW or era or classic or anything like that. It's kind of just its own thing, and you're probably gonna have a more fun time if you view it as such, right? You rush people to endgame, that is kind of lacking, especially with the level cap phases. Yeah, it was a little bit of a problem, I think, with the level caps being so long and being so time gated by like, okay, now you gotta just wait for a few months before new content comes out. It felt a little bit shitty. I agree. And then like whenever the new phases came out, the leveling was so fast that you got it done in such a fast time, right?
Course, which I definitely plan to check out in time, and the different heat levels for Molten Core, which will surely change up the experience to a certain degree. But what I'm seeing at the moment is a lot of your standard classic endgame pre-bis farming, except everyone wants tier 0.5 now, and itemization makes a bit more sense. And when I look to the endgame of classic and think about how it was back in 2019 for its re-release, I just don't feel the need to revisit that experience anytime soon. I did the full pre-bis farm. I farmed 2 Briarwood Reeds on different characters. I completed every raid, and I think a big part of it for me now is that Cataclysm has come around, and for endgame content is really the experience I've been looking for since Classic has come out.
I will say though, man, farming pre-bis in SOD is very different, bro. You can pull so many mobs. It is actually insane. It's a very different experience farming pre-bis in SOD than it is in Era, or like just in vanilla, whatever the heck, right? He's leveling all classes from 1 to 60 and never touched the game before an expansion. Sounds like that's the way it's meant to be played. I don't know. It's people enjoy games differently, right? I think Willie, he likes like the whole. You want to get that whole experience on all the characters so he can review them and for the YouTube and stuff like that, right? Not everybody plays like that. A lot of people play just 1 or 2 characters, right? If even that, right? Just 1 character maybe. That's what most people do. So I also, maybe Willie has a little bit of a burnout. From what he's explaining and how he's approached the game, it does sound like he's just burned out on it, right? Like he leveled 10 characters in Era or like in Classic WoW. He leveled in Season of Mastery a bunch of characters. Then he leveled like all the characters in SOD as well. Like, you would get burned out if you did all that stuff.
Vanilla, it was always, wait for this raid, this one will be the hard one, AQ40 be challenging, ooh, pre-nerf Cthulhu, watch out. Okay, but then like 1% of the player base did Nax back in the day, and so...
Dude, I always saw that as a meme. Like, I don't know, that to me, that's just a meme, but I guess some people took it seriously.
And so forth. And this carried on into TBC and into RAF too. And though some fights
definitely
got more challenging, your tier 5 M bosses, Muru, Alduar hard
TBC
modes,
was fun.
ICC heroic, often the gameplay was still somewhat lacking for me. It was just missing something. And I've realized from raiding that for me, if there isn't some degree of challenge or that feeling of overcoming bad RNG by using your class's toolkit, I kind of get bored with the format pretty fast. Vanilla in itself is a game about preparation and knowledge over ability and reactions. Did you get all your world buffs? Did you farm your gold for consumes? Did you farm your resistance gear for this fight and so on? Because if you check all those boxes, bosses in raids are going to fall over with little resistance. And honestly, they should do. Can you imagine a game where content is actively tuned around needing world buffs or consumables? Yeah, sorry guys, you wiped one time on this boss. Go and get your world buffs again. You can try again in an hour or so. And that's it.
That sound in an hour? No, bro, that would take hours, man. I mean, I agree with this though for sure as well, but I don't think people play Classic because it's hard. People enjoy Classic because of the feel and the MMO aspects of it, not because it's a difficult game. It's like a very good MMO.
If you have a summoning network.
But he does sound a little bit burnout,
for me, a big part of raiding is having some degree of progression. And
I do think probably a lot of Classic players are kind of burned out because it has been a lot of stuff, right? Classic and then TBC, then Wrath, then we got the hardcore stuff that went on for a year or a year and a half. Then there was like SOD, and then, now there's Era. Then, there's a ton, man. People have been grinding it. Like, I do think a lot of people probably have been feeling burnout a lot for it, right? Classic's been for 5 years, people are naturally going to be burned out for sure.
Raiding doesn't feel like something to work up to
remix,
when clearing is basically a given if you put in the effort. Now, Cataclysm is no mythic, I realise that. I've done mythics myself, I know what they're like, but it is also a far cry from Classic, where you kind of just walked in and if you've done the prep, you one-shot everything. In fact, I go as far to say as though it's almost spoiled the endgame, if that's the right word, of expansions that came before it. It has an easy gearing process and you can get into raids fast. There's decent challenge from raids, it's not excessive, but it's not face roll. The class design is overall great. Healing, which I re-rolled to this expansion, I'm playing 2 healers, is just straight up amazing, and it just clears every expansion that's come before it. And the raids are also very rewarding.
Dude, Willie loves Cataclysm, man. This is a SOD video, and he's sitting here praising Cata. I guess he loves it.
Raiding on more characters than I've done in any Classic game so far in Cata, and I wouldn't be surprised if things stay that way, the way the content cadence is expected to go. Overall,
for me, I enjoy Cataclysm, but I only enjoyed on one character. I don't think I could like log in multiple weeks and raid the same raids on a bunch of characters, right? I think it's fun on my warriors to do once a week. But that's really all it is for me, right? You just kind of raid into it and then you do that. I don't really see. I enjoy it, but it's not like I'm like super crazy for it, right?
Raiding needs some degree of progression or difficulty for me. If it doesn't, the preparation that goes into raiding just kind of doesn't feel worth doing, because I'm not farming pre-bis or gold farming so that we have a better chance at killing the boss. I'm doing those things so that we kill it maybe 1 second faster, which is fine. Again, that's just how I feel about it. Obviously, there's a lot of people who enjoy this type of gameplay, and this isn't me trying to be the super elite gamer either, because there's mythic in retail. If I really wanted hard content first and foremost, I would be doing that. I just like the mix between your typical vanilla gameplay and something more advanced.
Fair enough.
But here's the thing, there will be different difficulty levels in Season of Discovery. We know that Molten Core will have heat levels. They could end up being a big challenge for all we know.
Maybe.
I mean, take a look at Sunken Temple back at the start of Phase 3. It was genuinely hard. They nerfed Shade of Irenicus's health by over 50%.
Dude, they actually, I kind of forgot about this a little bit. They were actually way overtuned this boss. Shit of Veronicus has had as much health as like Kazak has now, right? That's crazy.
Not long after people started really getting into the raid. So maybe this heat level thing will be challenging. So what's the problem there then? Well, it's pretty simple. Difficulty and world buffs do not mix. You can have a raid that's hard, but you can't give players a 30% damage buffer if you wipe once it's gone. You know,
it freaking sucks having like stuff tuned for world buffs if they do decide to do that, right? Because it just makes it so unfun when you lose them and you try to progress. It's so bad. Like, I don't know, man. World buffs are cool and all, but
Mantis rune system in retail. In brief, it's an item made through inscription, and you can use it on a boss and you gain some bonus versatility, which broadly means do more damage, take less damage. This is active for the rest of the reset, but you only get to use one of them per reset. So imagine there's one boss which is causing you problems, everyone uses their Vantus on it, and it gives you that little bonus you need to get the kill. Now imagine your Vantus rune gave you a 30% damage boost, but it's just for one pull. But then you go and pull the boss and somebody messes up that one-shot mechanic that you just can't mess up and you end up wiping, and well, bad luck. Try again next week. That's what world buffs are for me. Even in a hypothetical world where world buffs were given inside of a raid for free, there's just so much extra power on our characters now through runes, gear, and consumes. It just feels like such overkill. Obviously,
I do understand this, and I kind of, to a certain degree, I do agree with it too, man. If it's facade, like having it tuned with world buffs is such a pain, especially with how the world buff meta is at 60, man. When Onyxia comes out, bro, and CG, it's gonna be Darkmoon Fair, it's gonna be Songflower, Diamold Tribute buff, Onyxia's Lair buff, like Oni Head, and it's gonna be CG buff, and it's gonna be Rend buff. You're gonna have to collect like 6-7 different world buffs. It's actually insane.
Say at this point, Blizzard are seeing the season through with this mechanic.
So regular classic? That's how classic is. Yeah, that is how classic is. But should they continue going down that round with Sod? Mayhaps, right? Mayhaps not. World buffs are the reason I don't play any kind of classic anymore. It's kind of like a hate it or love it kind of thing, right? You know, don't forget Darkmoon Fair. Yeah, Darkmoon Fair too.
But ultimately, world buffs mean that raids can't be challenging, and as I've gone over before, unless a raid has some challenge, I'm going to get bored of it pretty fast. But I think that's about it for raids, because there's definitely been a few more things which I wish would have been looked into to some extent. So there is a catch-up system for skill books, which were previously dropped in dungeon content, which can now be bought directly from vendors in Stormwind or Orgrimmar. But there's no catch-up for runes. The prospect of alts is still extremely unappealing.
Yeah, I get it. If you play 7 characters like Willy, bro, I would also be really fed up with farming runes. I actually really enjoy the whole rune acquisition thing, but I think that's because I only play 1, maybe 2 characters, right? So I don't really mind it. I don't mind going out and do like a long quest chain because I only have to do it once, right? But if you're doing like 4 or 5 characters, I guess it can get a little bit much, right? Why don't guilds just not get world buffs or give you the choice? Well, if there is an option to get it, most people would feel the need that they have to get it, right? Especially if you're in a guild, like if it's there and it makes your character literally like 30-40% more powerful, most people will feel obligated to have to pick it up every time, right? That's just how it is. That's how it goes. If you give an option to do something that's a lot easier or a lot better in a way, people will always lean towards that for sure.
30 runes per character now, and some are difficult to get. A number of early game ones need 2 players. Paladin's Sheath of Light rune, for example, requires a full run of Scarlet Monastery Cathedral, and given the whole 150% bonus XP thing, people might not be going out of their way to get that done anymore. It seems strange that there's been some 8 months or so of this season existing, and if you want to re-roll or just, you know, try a different class, you have to gather all of those 30 runes which have existed since the game was put out.
To be fair though, man, if you want to re-roll in classic vanilla, bro, you got like at least 5 days / played ahead of you, okay? So it's not that bad, okay, if you compare it to vanilla, because vanilla re-rolling is a whole ordeal, right?
Going to be running around for hours. literally hours and hours to do this. You would have thought this phase would have been a good opportunity to at least make runes that are gained in the same way across multiple characters easier to get. Again, they could be planning something for the future, but I think the player base would benefit from this. I've mentioned it once or twice in videos now. The Blackrock Mountain event also seems to have proven pretty controversial so far. So it has a 50% uptime, and when it's active, a bunch of high-level elementals spawn in zones around Blackrock Mountain. Typically, you'll want to go and quest in Searing Gorge around level 50, which is coincidentally the level your character would have been by the end of last phase, but this update makes it so half the time you can't really quest in the zone because high-level mobs spawn and then actively start to kill off the questing mobs.
I don't think you can quest in these zones. Like, because the event is literally every like 1 hour. It's every like 1 hour for an hour, right? So it's up half the time, pretty much.
I guess you just go somewhere else, I suppose. I'm also seeing a ton of posts about how disruptive the event is on PvP servers. So again, whilst this event is...
You literally can't enter the mountain when the event is active because you will be perma-camped by like multiple different groups. It is insane. Guys, we should make a group later for Blackrock Mountain, okay? Just get a group together, get like a 10-man raid maybe, do some PvP, be fun.
Which is half the time. Inside Blackrock Mountain, you gain 3 times honor, which makes this an extremely good honor farm. So for people who care about ranking, you're incentivized to go and camp people inside of Blackrock Mountain. So I don't know if you played Vanilla's re-release back in Phase 2 when World PvP first came out, but it was done without Battlegrounds, so open world PvP was the only way to rank up, and the world turned into absolute chaos. On some servers, it would take you a good 30 to 45 minutes or more to get from a thorium point to inside a dungeon in Blackrock Mountain.
I guess it was that bad. I didn't view it as such, but that's because I was the issue. Right? I was the problem. I was a rogue and I was perma trying to kill people. So if to me, Phase 2 was not that bad. It was kind of fun. But that's because I was the issue, right?
And as novel as it was at the start, the novelty wore off really fast. Blizzard ended up releasing Battlegrounds early, so people went there to rank, but it, without exaggeration, completely killed off factions on a number of servers. Now, in Season of Discovery, Blizzard are trying this forced faction balance thing where transfers are only open occasionally, which means if nothing changes, you're going to be stuck on your server, enduring a basically endless meat grinder inside of the RM for the rest of Season of Discovery. Because if this remains one of the best ways to gain honor, which it probably will do,
it is
I don't see a
shitty,
reason
though.
It would stop. And we have rank 14 to look forwards to at some point in the future. And though faction balance may be 50-50 on a server overall, once your faction controls the mountain, it's really difficult for any unorganized group to retake it. Because when you resurrect in World of Warcraft, you resurrect with basically no health whatsoever, and after you've died about 3 times in a row, you need to sit there and wait for 2 minutes for some reason between each res.
If you don't play on PvP server, if you don't want world PvP, I think a lot of people feel pressured to go on PvP servers because that's usually where a lot of people go already. So like that's kind of like why PvP servers are so popular, I think, right?
Blizzard have
taken. They fixed that for the event. Yeah, I think when you rest, you do rest with HP, right?
A reason that people quit in Phase 2 of Classic, and a reason a number of servers died, and they've made it into a feature. Saying this, every single PvP event in Season of Discovery has undergone changes, and I'd suggest that open world PvP should never really be the best source of honor, and that you need to keep people inside of Battlegrounds, or it just ends up getting pretty degenerate. And
in a way, whenever like world PvP becomes the meta for something, it always becomes miserable, because I think like the best world PvP for the most part is stuff that like you don't need to do. It's more stuff that happens like organically, right? It's like, oh, you meet someone and you have an interaction or something. It's not because like you go into BRM and you get killed by 15 hunters spamming traps on you, right? That's usually not the fun part.
Surprised to see there has already been an update here. Blizzard are adding the Drain the Blood aura from the ST.
I've heard some people say that they think War Mode could be great for SOD, but I guess it would spark a lot of very unhappy people as well, if that was the case, right?
PvP event. This will make it so you'll need to
think
do
a lot of
way
people
less
wouldn't like that.
runs to get to where you need to be inside the mountain, and you won't instantly die when you exit an instance portal anymore. This should definitely take some of the problems out of the event on PvP servers, but I still think it's going to be pretty active for the remainder of the season. I've said it before, but Blizzard really needs to put a warning on new character creation on PvP servers. They inevitably...
You will die! You will not have a good time! You will hate playing on this server. Are you sure you want to play?
Get extremely degenerate because of the complete lack of restrictions on PvP.
Yes.
Now, some people love that, which is absolutely fine, but I think it might make enough people think twice, rather than just having the expectation that, oh, this game's been out forever, you should understand what you're getting yourself into. Yeah. I don't know why you'd treat potentially new players like that. Anyways, those are my initial thoughts on Phase 4. I know it's not...
I will say, though, Willie does sound very burned out on vanilla. Like, a third of the video was him, like, praising Cataclysm and how he loves it, and then he went back to, like, bashing on vanilla, right? I think he's just a little bit burned out. I do see a lot of his the stuff that and the argument that he's making for it. I do agree with some of it as well, for sure. It can be a very, very tedious thing. I don't know, with the whole leveling fast in SOD, I don't really hate it too much because I don't view SOD as vanilla. I don't even view SOD as Classic Plus. To me, SOD isn't Classic Plus at all. It's just kind of like a little experiment, little fun thing to mess around with, right? But I see where he's coming from with it, but he does sound very burned out for sure.
Not all positive so far, but I just wanted to get it out there and see how other people are feeling about it. As mentioned earlier, I'll still level at least one character to 60, just very casually, do some dungeons, and get a general impression of the patch, so I can get a first-hand experience of what it's all like.
Bro, that looks so weird. With like, there's like no legs, it's just, you just see the cloak, like, what, that's so weird.
Experience of what it's all like. But that's it, let me know your thoughts on Phase 4 so far. Have you come back to the game? Are you giving it a miss?
I've been enjoying it personally.
Is it going well for you? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you on the next one.
Very soon.
Very soon.
I don't know, I like the video overall. It does sound like he's definitely very burned out on it. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I think it's been fun playing SOD Phase 4 so far, but I guess that's because I just really like vanilla endgame as well. I like the pre-biz farm, I like grinding for the gear. I think it's been chill. But I've also been taking it a lot more casually with it. I haven't leveled like 1 billion characters yet. I'm gonna do my warrior and then my shaman afterwards, so it's kind of chill. But I've been loving it so far. I love the idea of SOD, but I couldn't help feeling like I was playing a weird ass private server. Sometimes I do get this feeling too. Yeah, I definitely do get this like feeling of like it being some strange private server sometimes. Heat level should honestly disable the world buffs while also increasing the difficulty. This could be kind of interesting actually. If like the heat level 3 was like, okay, no world buffs, right? And you would have to do it like that. That could be kind of interesting actually to see how that would fare with everything. You got the community to help you out as well, but I mean, that's the privilege of being a streamer, right? I mean, that's just me being lucky, being able to stream stuff and having people wanting to play and stuff, right? It's just like that in any game, I suppose.